Hey, middle school leaders. I just wanted to send you a quick video just to say hi, keep you updated. Basically, I wanted to say thank you. I want to tell you what's coming up next week. I want to give you a few pieces of advice for small groups and things coming. And then lastly, I want to end with what's coming in the next month or two and cast some vision there. So first, I just want to say thanks. Last Wednesday went really well. I was super pumped, especially after Easter. Usually we don't have a ton of kids, but to have 37 students basically just speaks to how well you guys have done leading these students. They're coming back and they're bringing friends, and it's been so encouraging and so great. I know it was probably, well, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. For my small group, it was a tough conversation to get started. Hopefully it went well, but I just wanted to say thanks. This coming Wednesday, I'll be preaching. I know, big wow, I haven't preached in like 4 weeks. So I have to figure out what that's like again. But anyways, I'm preaching on the parable of the Samaritan woman, not the Samaritan woman, of the Good Samaritan. So it's Luke chapter 10 that I'm preaching out of. But I'm basically pitching this idea of if you remember, the parable was brought up by a lawyer, a teacher of the law, who asked Jesus, how would you sum up the entire law? And Jesus asked him, what would you say? And he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus is like, yeah, that's it. And then the lawyer says, but who's my neighbor? And that's the birthplace of the story of the Good Samaritan. So instead of specifically teaching about what does it look like to be a good neighbor, I'm kind of just going back to what the lawyer said and why the story was shared in the first place. And that is basically of what are we called to live by? My big idea for preaching is basically, if I can remember right, hopefully I can, it's that eternal life is not a status to be earned. It's a position and a posture that we take. I am also going to be leaning into this theme of God is after our presence with a C, not our presence with a T. And so I'm excited about this sermon. So I'll send out an email tomorrow afternoon, and I'll put the small group questions in. Hopefully I get them pretty clean and clear. I'm going to really try and lean into those small group questions so that it makes sense. Is my goal to go through those things. Also, every Wednesday, I'll put the small group questions on that round, like brown wood table in front of the sound booth. And so grab the small group questions during my sermon and just be reading over them and think through, how do I pitch this? How do I lead students into conversation? Or what do I do if there's too much talking, or how do I get them talking? How do I get them on the topic? Because sometimes it's hard to get students there, especially in middle school. So sorry, I'm super shaky right now. Okay, so that's last week. The two pieces of training, basically leader advice, I would love to give you. The first is, what does lean into prayer mean? I would love it if our students could pray together. I have told multiple small groups this kind of pitch, this little mini 2-minute sermon of listen, yes, praying is nerve-wracking, especially in middle school when you don't feel like you know how to pray and you're doing it in front of your friends and you have to say it out loud, and basically pause them and ask, why don't you be bold? Because you want to make a decision that praying to God is more important than feeling weird. And encourage kids that it might feel weird to pray out loud in front, for all the small group for the first time, but it's better to feel weird and know that you did something that you know you should be doing for God than to not feel weird and never develop prayer, which is talking to our Creator. So lean into that. However you do it, I would just love it if we could push our kids in that space to pray for each other. Maybe start with one student, maybe go around, maybe say, I'll open in prayer, and if anyone wants to jump in, pray, and say, I'm going to close in prayer afterwards. And then name, listen, it's going to be quiet for a few minutes, but I want you guys to pray and jump in, and I challenge you guys to pray for each other, and then pray and just wait 60 seconds in quiet. And if they don't pray, then let them sit in quiet, but push them to pray. So also take that with a grain of salt. You guys know these students and where they're at. I just want to encourage you that is a rhythm I want to get better at with our students. Not because we haven't been doing a good job, but because it's an age where it's a challenge. So pray. The second thing is, I'm going to go over boundaries again on Wednesday. So I'm going to basically pitch these are the 4 rules that we don't want to be breaking. And so I would just remind leaders, if you see a student breaking a boundary, pull them away so that it's not correcting and passing, and say, I need you to come here and then say, hey, we're not supposed to do this. You broke a boundary, but it's okay. You probably forgot. I know it's been a while. Just don't do this again. This is your one warning. And just make sure we use the phrasing of this is your one warning for students so we can kind of crib the boundary. So last thing that I want to name just to finish this video quickly is my wife, Kay, is going to have a baby on May 4th. We had to schedule a C-section, so I think the actual due date is like May 7th or 9th. But the scheduled day for the C-section is May 4th. What that means is I'll probably take the 2 Wednesdays, which I think are like the 5th and the 14th or something like that, or 5th and 13th, or maybe I'm getting the days wrong. Maybe 7th and 6th and 13th. I'm going to take those 2 Wednesdays off for sure. I don't know what the following weeks will look like, but we've got Ethan Renault is going to come in and he's going to preach on those first 2 Wednesdays, and I might pop in on the 3rd or 4th. But just want to give you guys a heads up of the first few weeks of May are going to look a little bit different. I'm going to bow out for a little bit. So, I just want to prep you for that because I'm going to have a baby. So anyways, I'd love to talk to you guys and get to hear how you're doing. Hopefully I'll try and reach out to you guys before the end of the month because I'd love to connect before my life gets turned upside down again. Next week, we might be doing a talk on dating, but we might do it a little bit differently. I'm toying with the idea of doing like kickball at the school across the street, and so maybe meeting over there and then coming over here and having a video-based dating night where we just do small group discussion and videos like alpha style. So I'm explaining too much, but I'll send that in an email tomorrow and pitch it to you guys if Elliot and I can settle on it and get the green light tomorrow in our meeting. So that's everything. I hope you're doing well. Thanks a ton for being leaders, and we'll see you on Wednesday.